Hey everybody, welcome back to the Centaur Fragrance channel. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Today we're going to be talking about Possets Perfumery. Before we do, let me know, do you like indie perfumery? Have you heard of indie perfumery? Is it something that interests you at all? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to start that conversation. So let's jump into this brand. First off, this is a collaboration. I am working with this brand. They were willing to send these my way for review, and they're just so generous. And they sent me a handwritten note here. It means the world. This is an extra icing on the cake, an extra effort. They didn't have to do anything like this. And thank you, Tom and Jenny. Thank you so much for your wonderful creations and your work. Now, I'm just going to share my first impressions with y'all. Honestly, I did sneak some smells. I couldn't resist, but in the future, I'm just going to have to, hold off and give y'all real first impressions. But I don't know the notes of these. I really haven't tested these on skin, and I'm just going to introduce this brand to you. Now, they come in these little blue bottles. I think they do have roll-ons available. I don't think they have sprays yet, but they come in these deep blue bottles that helps a little bit with sun protection, and they do look quite nice. They're a dark, rich purple blue. Metal caps and the fragrances, let's jump into them. This one here is Madame X. I think this is one of their top sellers for the ladies out there. Very interesting, kind of like really deep floral, but the deep floral is very in the background. The floral here is kind of very hidden. And then it has this interesting, almost like black ambergris feel to this fragrance. It's quite interesting. It definitely smells like a femme fatale fragrance, Madame X. It smells kind of like that, oh my goodness, maybe like black leather or something like that going on. So this is a very interesting fragrance for you ladies out there who are a little bit dangerous. Interesting fragrance. Let's share the next one real quick. This one's called Cambion Hyacinth. Now, this is one, I think that's from their holiday, their limited edition collection. Sometimes they have limited fragrances per season. This is one of the ones I think that is from their holiday collection. And this is a really interesting floral. I've never smelled anything like this before. That's one reason that indie is so fantastic, guys. You can jump into a house and a brand, and you're going to smell all kinds of interesting things, artistic things that you've never smelled before in a brand or from anyone, even niche. So, interesting fragrance for sure. A little bit on the yellow floral side, but a little bit spicy. Maybe a tiny bit of resins in there. A little bit of incense. I think that this Cambion kind of a collection of theirs is supposed to be inspired by angels. So quite an interesting, uplifting, but yet fragrance, but it still has a little bit of a grounding factor too. The next one is Lord Byron. She Walks in Beauty. Now, guys and gals, I have to be honest, I can't tell exactly what notes are jumping out of this fragrance. It smells a little bit smoky, a little bit leathery, but it's blended very well. It's very soft. It's beautiful. This one is one of the ones I think is truly unisex. If you want a fragrance that feels truly unisex, if that's your kind of thing, this is definitely for you. If you want a fragrance that's a little bit on the leathery side, and has a little bit of spice, a little bit of that exotic factor to it. Lord Byron, She Walks in Beauty is really nice. All these fragrances some of them are quite potent. I'll try to point those out, but some of them do seem a little bit subtle, and of course that's perfect for everyday situations when you want to be inoffensive at the office, when you're at an airport, when you're close to people. This one's called Silver Sandalwood. This one is a very subtle fragrance, at least for me. It's a metallic kind of a fragrance, of course, with silver. A very interesting metal accord. It has a little bit more brightness, but not with citrus. It just has a little bit of this interesting sparkle to it. This is one of the ones I was very excited about. It can smell a little bit linear if you're very artistic, very into niche, because it's just a little bit metallic, a metallic sandalwood. And the sandalwood here isn't bright exactly. It mixes with this metallic accord, and it can seem a little bit gray, a little bit on the stoic side or austere side, a little bit mysterious, but kind of a simple fragrance. But boy golly, I love this fragrance. Silver Sandalwood is definitely going to be one of my favorites from this collection, and one of the fragrances that I truly love. The next one is called Water Witch. Quite an interesting name, and by golly, again, an interesting fragrance. It's watery for sure. It smells authentically like water. You can smell aquatics, other aquatics that have cologne and have that kind of aggressive sea salt or cologne vibe that just smells like the mall. It just smells like a giant bunch of masculine fragrances. This captures the feel of water the best I've ever smelled in a fragrance. And it has this interesting, it's almost like a very interesting dark floral bubblegum kind of feel to the fragrance. So very exotic, very interesting. I have never smelled anything like this. Again, this is why indie is so great. Indie has artistic fragrances on a budget. They're very creative. A lot of the niche world these days are kind of leaning towards mass appealing. They're not as creative. They're trying to make a little bit more money. If they got a big brand, they definitely want to be appealing to everyone out there. This brand is going to take a little bit more risk and be very creative. Possets, these fragrances are really nice for the money, guys. The next one is Midnight Moss at Old St. Mary's. So this is going to kind of capture like a dark, moss kind of a Catholic event. I can imagine wine, incense. It's a little bit dark. It's a little bit dry. It's a little bit musty. A very interesting scent. I don't really have any memories connected to anything like this, but for somebody, something from their collection is going to be nostalgic for you. Something is going to trigger a memory. These fragrances are meant to tell a story. Midnight Moss at Old St. Mary's is a very interesting take on an incense style fragrance. Again, I've never tried anything like it. The next one is All Those Things Whose Bite Can Bring. Very interesting name. Honestly, it makes me think of vampires, but the picture I think is inspired by Medusa. This one is a very sharp, very interesting aldehydic fragrance. Very strong. It's bright, it's playful, it's citrusy, but again, it has a sharpness. There's an aggressiveness to this citrus fragrance. So if you've ever wanted a bold and assertive, sharp kind of a citrus fragrance, again, I think that a femme fatale, if she wanted her summer fragrance, maybe, wearing a big Hollywood big sun hat and a sundress, I can imagine a very exotic and perhaps dangerous lady wearing a fragrance like this for her everyday summer kind of fragrance. So, interesting stuff. The next one is called Eve. Now, I don't need to say any more about that. You probably know all about those connotations and that message. This, is a fragrance. I've never smelled anything like this before. I don't know the notes off the top of my head. Again, you're going to have to wait for the full-length reviews. But it has this exotic, dark wheat dough. If you've ever made bread and you have, your dough and it's kind of rising, you're letting it proof. And it's made out of a certain type of dark wheat. Maybe there's a little bit of molasses in there. By golly, again, this is exotic. This is strong, and I have never smelled anything like Eve. I want to say there's a little bit of apple or something to that in the background, but that just might be me in my head thinking of the story of, Adam and Eve. So, the next one is called Black River. Guys and gals, this is one of the ones I wanted, and, when I looked through their catalog, one of the ones that stuck out to me, this is some special juice here. Black River, it's dark, it's minerally, it's exotic. It does smell a little bit aquatic, but it really reminds me of the quality and this one has a little bit of the tone of something like House of Matriarch. Some of their fragrances, it's just the tone. The smell and maybe the quality maybe isn't the same, but by golly, this one feels almost like my something magic fragrance. It has that kind of tone to it. I forgive that. But this is gorgeous. It smells a little bit like black licorice. Really hard to put the notes on that one. But Black River is, I think, a little bit... It's unisex. Anybody can wear any of these. But that one, I think, is a little bit more assertive and perhaps more for, a masculine guy. The next one is called Angelic Host 8th. This one's called Cherubim. They have quite a few fragrances from their collection that are inspired, again, by Angelic Host. Inspired by the different aspects of spiritualism, of all kinds of people, all kinds of, places around the world, religions and the sort. This one is the most buttery fragrance I've ever smelled. This is more buttery and more rich than Hafez Gold by Alexandria. Even though that's a great fragrance, and I recommend that y'all go out there and try that fragrance for sure. For the budget and for the price, it's great. But this stuff smells so buttery. It smells very culinary-like, but in a good way. Angelic Host, it smells bright, it smells exotic, it smells very playful in its own very almost gourmand way. It's not overly sweet though, but it does have a little bit of a buttered bread vibe, and the buttery quality to this fragrance really sticks out. So really nice fragrance. I don't know how they pulled it off, but that one's very artistic. If you like that kind of vibe, very nice fragrance. The next one is Orion. Now this one is a little bit more subtle. It's a little bit more musky perhaps. This one I think is one of their best masculine offerings as far as I can tell. It's a little bit soft. It's a little bit masculine. It leans a little bit more towards the classic vibe. It has a little bit of that fruitiness. A little bit of that musk. I would not, even though this might make you think of I can't even say it, Terenzi with Orion. Kind of has some of the same name going on, but almost got dropped. But this one, guys and gals, this does not smell like a Ventus. This is not a copycat. I do wish perhaps that this one was stronger, but this is a very nice masculine fragrance that's really quite subtle, quite easy to wear, and just a great, great fragrance. Let's jump into some more of these. Y'all might expect that I'm going to run out soon, but I have quite a few more, and I have little samples as well. So don't run away just yet. The next one is Fearful Symmetry. Now, guys, this fragrance is very bold, and I think that this one is very loud. If you like your Dark Rebel by John Varvatos, this one has a lot of licorice. I would say even more licorice. I would say that this one is a little bit more sheer, the Dark Rebel by John Varvatos, with how dark it is and the licorice. Can seem a little bit more dark and dank and perhaps gothic. This one is a little bit more playful. It has a black licorice vibe, but also, to my nose, has a very interesting bubblegum nuance to the fragrance. So if you want black licorice and bubblegum, very authentic licorice, very strong. It has a little bit of smoke to it, but it never goes dark. It never goes dense, and it never perhaps goes syrupy like Dark Rebel does. I think that Fearful Symmetry is a tantalizing fragrance. Again, perhaps that one's a little bit more for, masculine guys. But anybody can wear, again, any of these fragrances. The next one is Min Min. This one blew me away. I was very impressed. One of my favorites from the collection. This is a very exotic musk kind of fragrance to my nose. Incense, musk. This is very exotic stuff. It smells very interesting. It smells kind of ghost-like, very strong. It might have a little bit of powdery quality to it, but I think it's inspired by, it might be Japanese folklore or something to do with perhaps like Ghost. But Min Min, by golly, this is one of my favorites from the whole line and the whole collection. A very good musk for a very good price. If that's something you're interested in, check that one out. Even though all these are unisex, including Min Min, I do think that ladies perhaps would like that one more, but it's not overtly feminine by any means. The next one is Shah Jahan and Mutsta Bahal. I think that this one is inspired by an Arabian wedding. I don't know the story. Maybe this is an Arabian lover's tale. I really honestly don't know. But I'm going to look into the history. But this one's great too. It's a very interesting, like, rosy, resinous fragrance. I don't detect anything like oud, but there's definitely some frankincense-like qualities. Very nice, playful spice to this fragrance. Probably a little bit of amber, but it's still light and bright and cheerful. I still think it speaks of the celebration. I think that this speaks more of the, the wedding celebration, not the wedding night, not the the particularly the romance. I think that this speaks to the celebration of these two, and they're actually their wedding day. So quite a nice fragrance, interesting stuff for sure. Let's jump into some of these samples. I have a lot to share with y'all. There is one that really stuck out to me, and I'm gonna have to get it in the future. But guys, they're so generous to me. I know this is getting to be a longer video. Again, I try to do shorter content and longer content. Let me know what y'all like. Let me know what y'all like to hear about. How long should my videos be? What do you like to hear? This one is called Dies Awry. Now, this one is not my personal taste. This is not something that I personally gravitate towards. This is one of those chamomile yellow aldehydic fragrances that has a lot of tea like vibes and a lot of spice and a lot of aldehydes. Dies Awry is not my personal taste, but some people out there seem to really like these. I have smelled a few fragrances like this, so somebody out there must really like yellow floral fragrances. Chanel No. 5, just throw this out there, sells very, very well. People still go crazy for it. So somebody out there might just love that fragrance. The next one is Phoenicia. Again, exotic name. All of these have a story to tell. This is one of the most culinary fragrances I've ever smelled. To my nose, this smells like a very high quality steakhouse. Like you walk in there and the garlic and the cumin and the spices. This has a lot of cumin to it. This has a lot of authentic spices to it. Very interesting. I get almost like a mesquite type note to it. If you've never smelled mesquite smoke, it's quite a distinctive note. It smells very dry and quite spicy. It's not the same as cedar, certainly not the same as sandalwood, and there's all kinds of different woods with their own smells. To my nose, this smells quite similar to mesquite, but it's a very exotic, smoke and incense kind of fragrance. Spicy, interesting juice, no doubt about it. The next one is called Ode to Aphrodite. If y'all don't know what an ode is, I encourage y'all to look it up. It's kind of like a, lore. It's kind of like a folk story, and it's kind of a story that is like a respect to a legend, something of past, something that remembers it. Something that you would write or sing to remember something that was very important. So, Ode to Aphrodite. This one is a very nice, I would say leans more feminine, but again, everything's unisex. Very interesting musk fragrance. A little bit incensey, but playful and light. For me, it captures the feel of pink without being overtly floral, without being overtly rosy. This fragrance somehow has captured the feel of pink, and it's done very well. You might detect like the skin of like a fresh fig. Just the skin, not the juice, not the fruitiness, not the syrup. This fragrance really doesn't have much of any sweetness to it, but if you've ever smelled the skins of certain fruits, some of them have very interesting smells to them. I'd encourage y'all to go out there and smell everything at every opportunity. Go out there and smell fragrances and really just experience the world of fragrance all around you. You might have a flower in your backyard and you've never smelled it before and you don't know what that smells like. Anyways, that's what this fragrance reminds me of. Uncharted waters, maybe something exotic, maybe an exotic beauty. It smells a little bit like skin, like musk. So if Aphrodite smelled like that, that would be something, that'd be special. The next one is called Dance With Me. Dance With Me is, I don't know how to describe this one. I don't know how to put words to this fragrance. It has a sharpness. It has a little bit of a piercing quality, but it's not on the forefront. It's more of like a piercing mid. It smells a little bit sweet, not overtly sweet, not at all. It's a little bit intense. It's how can I describe this, guys? Dance with Me smells kind of like a love high. If you can put that into a fragrance. Again, Confessions of the Rebel creates some good fragrances for that kind of thing. But I can feel, or I think, that a younger lady would really like this fragrance. It has an intensity behind it, a sharpness. It has an aldehydic feel with a tiny bit of sweetness to it. And it's quite a playful thing. So Dance With Me is something to check out if you're a lady. This could be nostalgic for you, perhaps. A very playful fragrance. Check that one out. The next one is Terra Incognita. Now, this is the one I was telling y'all about that I really wanted to share. This is one of the ones that really stood out to me, and I love this fragrance. Terra Incognita means incognito, earth, or hidden earth. So maybe like underground somewhere. This one has almost an ambrette feel to it. And y'all know how much I've started to fall in love with ambrette. It smells earthy, but in a very light and bright and very wearable way. It captures the feel of like just fresh, dry, tan earth. Very nice fragrance. A little bit on the musky side. A little bit fresh. Very wearable stuff. Again, this is another fragrance that if you've always been scared of leathers and you don't think that the leather is very wearable, this is one of those fragrances you can wear that's not going to bother you if you don't like leather as a note, or if you just want something a little bit different to leather. Terra Incognita is a very nice fragrance. I've never smelled really much of anything like this. I have smelled Noble Earth by... I think that's the Harmonist, and it has a similar vibe to it, capturing that smell of earth. But that one is really nice, and I gotta get a bottle of that one. The next one is called Arrival of the Queen of Sheba. Now, again, all of these fragrances tell a story. If you don't know about the Queen of Sheba, go look up that story. A fantastic lady, and this is a very bold, Christmassy fragrance kind of smell to me. Very golden, very resinous. I almost want to say aldehydic, but this one has a certain sweet note to this one. To me, the sweetness almost has the smell of gorgeous fragrance. Arrival of the Queen Sheba. If you want it, this is truly unisex. But maybe a lady would like this one more. It's golden, though. It's quite a nice thing. The next one is Nausicaa. Now, this one I don't think is my personal taste. This one has a little bit of, maybe it's a lot of peony. I'm not sure what exactly this note is. Again, I'm going to do full-length reviews of these in the future. It has just this sharp, piercing, unique, like green floral aspect to this fragrance. It's like a white floral with a little bit of a green hint to that floral. It's quite citrusy. It's quite loud. White rose, white florals, white aldehydes. This stuff is very potent, and I feel like this is very piercing as well. But it smells very good, and it's a very good quality for the price for what you're getting. Again, most of these fragrances smell very nice for the quality and the price you're going to be paying for them. Even though this is an indie brand, I don't think that they're 100% natural, and not everything needs to be. There's different perfumery for different people, and I think that they mix and have made really good fragrances here. The next one is called Paisley, and it captures Paisley very well, just like you would imagine. Kind of a psychedelic fragrance, a playful fragrance, a witty fragrance, a very charismatic, witty guy. Maybe he's a comedian. Would definitely like this kind of fragrance. Maybe he's a cool cat. Maybe he's a reformed hippie. Paisley is a very good fragrance for a cool cat kind of guy. This has been really a bunch of the line. I don't know if this is the whole line, but they almost sent me a lot of their fragrances, a lot of them. And if you're interested in this house, I'm going to link their website down below. If you're interested in any of them, I do think they have roll-ons. Again, these are kind of open mouth. You have to be really careful. Just dab some on your finger and just put it wherever you need to, kind of like an attar. So you have to be careful if you buy these with just the open mouth. I kind of would recommend the roll-ons personally, but again, some people might quite like this. You could easily put this in another bottle, spray it as a pure extrait, or add maybe a little bit of alcohol or a fixative. But very interesting fragrances. Very happy to work with this brand. Thank you so much, Possets, for your wonderful work, your wonderful creations, and your generosity. Your generosity has touched me and moved me. And you did send that handwritten note. And guys, they sent me one of their newest fragrances that still needs a little bit of time to mature. So y'all are gonna have to stay tuned for the future for that. I don't even want to tell y'all the name, but y'all could probably, if y'all zoom in, see what this is. Anyways, thank you so much for being here today. If you like my content, if you're a big fragrance enthusiast, if you like indie fragrances, please like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share this video, and thank you so much for watching. This has been a long, expansive video with my first impressions and my thoughts on this brand. A lot of fragrances, a lot of things to deal with, and a lot of things to explore out there. There's so many brands out there, guys, and I want to help bring them to you. I want to share interesting new things that perhaps you have never heard about. So that, again, that's a little bit more about my brand or my channel and the direction that this channel is taking. Thank y'all again so much for being here. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I look forward to chatting with you in the comments below. So I'll see you next time. Wear what you love, and you might just find something you love from Possets. And I'll see y'all next time. This has been the Sandalwood Fragrance Channel. Keep it cool and keep it real. I'll see you next time, and bye.